going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Behold, another gun that none of you can afford. But the good news is, I cannot afford this one either. Most people cannot afford this gun. But thanks to a very cool viewer, dude I've been chatting with on Instagram here for about a year and a half, we have a very collectible, very expensive, very nice AK to show you all. A Type 1 AK47, the granddaddy to all AKs. It's what started it all. Possibly one of the most important firearms made in the last century is the Type 1 AK, because every AK came after it. Now, we all know the AK is the greatest gun of all time. It's the most popular gun on the planet. They have these things on freaking flags for various countries, and they have statues of Mikhail Kalashnikov all over Russia. They put this man on a pedestal. How many Eugene Stoner statues do you see in America? That many. On a serious note, though, we want to give a big thank you to our buddy that sent this gun. His name's Jonathan Isaac. He's actually a basketball player for the Orlando Magic. He has a very good taste in AKs, and we are very happy that he was cool enough to send his prized possession over to us to share with all of you. I feel very privileged to be holding this. He even let us shoot it a little bit. And later in the video, we're going to do something he did not give me the okay to do, but we did it anyway. So on this YouTube channel, typically we're doing very modern stuff. We're shooting competitive matches with our AKs. We're trying to convert them to be, usable in the 21st century. We're trying 5.56 variants. We're trying different calibers, muzzle brakes, triggers, all kinds of stuff to really get the absolute most performance out of AKs. But today, we are just going to bask in the glory of how right the AK was from day one in 1947. The Type 1 that they only really made for 3 years because they really considered this to be a failure, and I'll tell you why here in a second. So the Type 1 and every AK that came after it is the brainchild of Mikhail Kalashnikov. When he made this gun, he was a very young, aspiring gun designer, and he entered this in the Russian trials at the time for their new standard carbine, and it was accepted. I can only imagine what it must feel like to be at the age he was at and create a gun that ended up being the most popular gun on the planet. Pretty cool accomplishment. The thing is, though, the Type 1 is considered to be a bit of a failure, and there's really one important reason. It has nothing to do with reliability, really nothing like that. It all has to do with the receiver. You see, the Type 1 AK actually has a stamped steel receiver, not a milled receiver like the Type 2 and the Type 3 that came after it, not the same stamped receiver that you saw in the AKM and virtually every AK that came after that. From the very beginning, Kalashnikov wanted this to be a light, intermediate firing gun, cheap to produce and quick to produce, hence why they decided to really go with a stamped receiver. The problem was they just didn't quite have the technology to maintain quality control. They couldn't really guarantee that every single stamped receiver would be the same thickness, wouldn't have warping. They just couldn't really guarantee it at the time. So it was quickly abandoned, and eventually you saw around 1950 they moved to a milled receiver, the Type 2, and it was later perfected as the Type 3, and then eventually they came back to the stamped receiver in 1959 in the AKM in the early 60s, and then the rest is history. That being said, though, you will see pictures of Type 1s all over the planet for decades. You'll see pictures of these things in Vietnam. You'll see pictures of these things still shooting today in places like Africa that have just a lot of conflict zones. You'll see Type 1s all over the planet still shooting today. So it was never really abandoned because of any reliability issues. They're still out there kicking today. It was just a production thing. They couldn't guarantee every receiver was going to be the same. They really had a hard time maintaining thickness of the receiver. And from all the research I've done, that seems to be one of the biggest reasons they just abandoned the stamped receiver. Again, they ended up going to a big block of steel that they milled into a receiver, where the trunnion and the receiver were all the same part. It was easier to maintain quality and have every receiver come out exactly like the one that came before and came after. The big problem was, with that came very expensive guns and very heavy guns and slower to produce guns. And we wouldn't see the stamped receiver come back until the AKM in the early 60s when they really perfected it. And that version of the AK really is one of the most popular guns on the planet, if not the most popular gun on the planet even today. By the way, I'm not even going to begin to act like I know absolutely everything there is to know about the Type 1. So I want to direct you to a couple other channels that have already done some videos on this. Number one, obviously Forgotten Weapons has a very good video on the Type 1. There's another channel that's made by a gunsmith called Appalachian Gunworks, who's actually done some rewelds on these and has some really cool up-close videos of underfolder Type 1s that he has put together so he could actually tell you, how the soup is made. And check that out, Appalachian Gunworks. It's really freaking cool. I believe his channel's called Adventures in Kalashnikov. Go check him out. What's really cool about the Type 1, if I didn't tell you this was a very special AK and I just showed it to you from about this distance and said, hey, cool, I got this neat little underfolder, you probably couldn't tell it was anything different than like a Chinese underfolder, like a Type 2 or a Type 3 underfolder, or just some generic stamped underfolder that everyone and their freaking brother makes all over the world. What I'm getting at is they really got it right from the beginning. There's so many good things on this gun that are still unchanged to this day. Things they got right from the late 40s and the very first generation of the AK that virtually never changed. So let me take you inside. I'll show you some up-close features of this gun and show you how some things just never changed. Some things changed dramatically, but there are things on this gun that they got right from day one. Just a testament to how good the design was and how talented Kalashnikov was at such a young age. It's pretty impressive. At the front of the gun, you're going to notice there's a muzzle nut there. Underneath, you'll find 14x1 millimeter left-hand threads. Still to this day on AKMs, 14 millimeter is unchanged. The front sight post itself is a milled piece. It's not a cast piece. And you can see the whole gun is hot blued, which is pretty cool. Not something you would see today. Gas block is fairly unique to the Type 1. You'll notice there's no sling loop on the gas block on a Type 1. Gas tube is fluted. Sling loop is on the lower handguard retainer. Lower handguard retainer is virtually unchanged even to this day. The handguards are kind of cool. They're serialized to the gun, 1077. This is an all numbers matching kit. Extremely nice. Even the barrel is definitely an original barrel to the gun. The handguards are non-bolstered like you would see in later AKMs. They're slab-sided. Kind of reminiscent to Type 2, Type 3. They virtually stay the same, and kind of like Romanian furniture. They don't have the palm swells. Rear sight leaf, virtually unchanged from day one. Big, thick, smooth dust cover. That is definitely a Russian thing. A lot of their AKs had smooth dust covers until the AKM. The majority of the AKM dust covers all have reinforcement ribs. When you got back into like the 100 series of Russian AKs, they went back to the thick, smooth dust cover. But even from day one, thick, smooth dust cover. A very unique and telltale sign from a Type 1 is the exposed trunnion here that slightly overlaps the stamped receiver on both sides. You can see there with proof stamps for days. Freaking AK nerds like myself, man, you love proof stamps. It's very cool. On Type 1s, the barrels are threaded and cross-pinned. So, kind of cool. Eventually, all AKs, pretty much, would just end up being pressed fit and cross-pinned. Bit of a unique rivet pattern on Type 1s. Just a couple there. And of course, you see the telltale reinforcement ribs. Very unique to Type 1s. Your grip, extremely unique to a Type 1. Has a very dramatic taper to it. And what's interesting about these, they don't actually have a bolt that goes all the way through into a little T-nut like you're used to most AKs today. This actually just has a tang on the inside, and your grip splits in half and just sort of clamshells the tang, and you have one bolt that goes through and tightens them both down. This one has an underfolder. This is a milled underfolder, so these pieces here, they're not like folded metal. They're actually milled out of a piece of steel. Extremely solid lockup. Beautiful underfolder. You can see that your recoil rod is unique to the Type 1 slightly. The takedown push button there is tapered, comes to a point. It's also a serialized part. This is where you see the telescopic recoil rod come to be. They ended up ditching this on the majority of their stamped guns later in life. They kept the telescopic recoil rod and the Type 2 and the Type 3. When they got into the AKM, they went to what you guys know today, the coat hanger recoil rod, as some people refer to it. It's just two bent pieces of wire, while this has a little piston, the beautiful bolt and carrier of the Type 1. So the bolt that's in the white even has proof stamps, which is very cool. If I told you this bolt was made in 1950 and you compared it to a modern day AK bolt, they are virtually unchanged. One thing they got right from the very beginning, the heart of this gun is the bolt. It is unchanged even from day one. The piston, as you can see, is fluted. So the fluted piston is completely unique to the Type 1. It's the only variant that had the fluted piston and was abandoned going into the Type 2 and the Type 3. Of course, you guys all know about slab side magazines. This one even still has cosmoline in it. These date as far back as Type 1s. These are very thick gauge steel, heavy duty 7.62x39s that will lock into any 7.62 AK from any country of any generation. They really did a good job standardizing on the geometry of this mag and 7.62x39 that even a mag made back in the late 40s, early 50s will still lock into any modern day 7.62x39 AK and work perfectly without any issues. Just to show you there, that is a factory original barrel. Beautiful barrel. What's interesting about the trunnion is that ejector, the fixed ejector, and going into the rail, that's all part of your trunnion. The trunnion's this big conglomerate piece. It's all of that. It's all of that. And it actually comes forward and stops here. The fixed ejector is all built into that one piece in your trunnion. On the other side, your trunnion comes all the way to there, and also your carrier uses this rail and part of the trunnion to slide back and forth. Later on, in later variants, of course, we all know the trunnion ends way back here, and all these rails are all a solid piece that are spot welded in place. There's a close-up of that folding stock mechanism, virtually unchanged. Even folding stocks today all have the exact same mechanism to fold it. They kind of got that right from day one as well. And take a look at the back of the receiver of this folding stock variant. It kind of has this half moon shape. Very cool. So talking rarity, again, these things were made for about 3 years total. There just weren't that many made. There's certainly not that many out in the planet still today, but there are some. There's very few in this country. And this one is a factory barrel, all numbers matching kit, re-welded receiver, beautifully done by whoever did it. And man, you could not ask for a smoother receiver. And that's a re-weld, stamped receiver, and damn is it smooth. Jonathan did let us shoot this thing. We got to fire one magazine through it. I fired Ingman brass case. I believe it's 123 grain. And through this gun with no muzzle device, just a fairly heavy little stamped gun. The recoil impulse was awesome. Shoots very soft. We gotta go fast for like 3 rounds.
Okay.
Whoa. It's the stuff dreams are made of right there. The only 30 rounds I'll ever shoot from a Type 1 AK47, date coded 1950, all numbers matching, re-weld. Absolutely magnificent. I could honestly hit steel with these irons. I would never touch the iron sights on this gun, but we could hit steel at a relatively close distance. The recoil was nice. The carrier gliding back and forth was so smooth. Beautiful shooting gun. I do prefer the fixed stock, but beggars cannot be choosers with Type 1s. The shooting experience was truly pleasant, and honestly, just a pure joy to even be able to shoot something like this. So I'm sure you're probably wondering, what is a gun like this worth? What is the original AK47 Type 1 worth? The gun that started it all? Couldn't say for sure. I know what I've seen a lot of them sell for, and ballpark estimate, I would say anywhere between 15 and 20. That's with 3 zeros. I would say this gun is certainly in between that threshold. But what do I know? I'm just some nerd on the internet, so I wanted to take this thing somewhere where I would be surrounded with people in the know, people that really know guns, they know the prices, they instantly are going to know what this is. Maybe I can get some offers, maybe some trade deals, but I'm curious, what's a Type 1 worth? To find out, we're going to go to the Bastion of Gun Knowledge, my local gun show. Let's go. But before we go in there, the plan is to see what people would offer us for this thing. Is anyone even going to know what this thing is? Maybe we can get some trade deals. So the plan is we'll try to get some offers, but I am going to be acting like I have no idea what this is. I'm going to act like I just got it for a song and I'm looking to do some dealing. And I'm really interested in an SKS. If someone's got the right SKS, well, they could leave with a freaking Type 1, brother, or whatever it is. I don't freaking know what I've got. I'm just walking into a gun show with it. So I'm very curious to see what happens. So let's head on in. We're walking in the gun show. Let's see what we can get. I was kind of hoping to trade something, but I don't like the underfolder stocks personally.
Okay. What value in trade do you want? Just rough number.
Man, I don't know. $1,000?
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Can I see it?
Sure.
Not at the table, sir.
Okay, sorry. I mean, you can make an offer. I am looking to trade, but what were you thinking?
I can give you like 900 cash right now.
I'm just not an underfolder guy, if I'm honest.
Which one is this? So let me go have this checked out.
Okay. I think he's taking the AK probably over to Dimitri to see what it is.
A few moments later.
We're dealing. Sorry. I'm dealing with him on it. Yeah. We're not done yet. So what are you asking for this one?
I'd rather just maybe trade, honestly.
Okay.
I like trading.
What value do you got in the trade on this? What would you like?
But a SKS would be cool.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I like the SKS.
Is that the only one that you have here?
That's the only one I got here.
Is that a Chicom?
I think it's Chinese, yeah, like a milled one.
Dang, that's a good
I could do a consignment paperwork on it. Then I can meet you at my buddy's shop in Huntsville and finish out the paperwork. Because I got another, I got that.
Is that like?
I also have I have the SKS M, which takes the AK magazine. That I would be willing to trade for.
I was kind of open to do a deal today.
Okay.
I got an SKS. You
Like-
ever seen the paratroopers? Here, look at this one, man.
Man, can I ask you a favor? Let me finish dealing with you.
I'm sure.
I had to say it like that.
I got one right here, man. Come on, take it.
Can I maintain this one here? This way you won't get stolen from your car. It's here.
Oh,
I'm an FFL dealer, so I can do a paperwork that you
It's-
left in my consignment.
nah, that's okay.
Because I have two SKSs I can pull and have it here. We can do the deal.
5 minutes later.
You want to make a deal? Trying to make a deal?
Can I see it?
Yeah.
Dang, dude. And this takes Rock and Lock AK mags. Ah, that's cool.
See, this was from the war, so it's got like some character to it.
Ah, they call that trench art.
This also took the.
Yes.
I'll tell you what. If you want to do like an even trade,
Man.
I got an Applebee's gift card that's probably got at least like $22 left on it.
Dang. All right, let's do it.
You want to do it?
Let's do it.
A few moments later.
That gun was worth about $4,500, $5,000. What you gave away? I'm serious.
No way. So what did we learn? I think we learned that most people have no idea that this is a very special gun. Most people just see an AK, and to most people, an AK is an AK is an AK. They all look the same, they all do the same things, probably all worth about the same money. It's a wide rabbit hole that I don't expect everyone to be involved with, so I didn't expect that many people to know what it was, but I thought more people would know it was kind of special. Most tables I walked up to didn't even really care to take a look at it. The ones that did said, you'd probably get $1,000 for it, maybe. Trade, maybe more. Most people just didn't know. There were some people that were walking around that definitely could tell it was something special, and they made some offers, but nothing crazy, nothing even relatively in the ballpark of what this thing's actually worth. So it's kind of cool that this gun flies totally under the radar at a gun show. I thought that was kind of cool. One thing I'll say about the last gentleman that was really trying to get this thing for an SKS, I definitely don't want to seem like I'm blowing up his spot or, trying to make him look bad at all. This was all in good fun. Honestly, super cool guy. And you just have to remember, these guys are in the business of, buy, sell, trade. And I'm trying to choose my words carefully because YouTube overlords are watching, but they're in the business of doing that. And you have to think, we've all been in those situations where we're doing some wheeling and dealing, and we definitely have the upper hand because we might know more about the object than that person knows trying to offload that object. So we make out better on the deal. And, these guys, that's their bread and butter. So I definitely don't blame any of them for trying to get this thing for a song. It's just funny that they thought it would work. It's just hilarious. And definitely, we definitely broke his heart when I gave it to Tony for a freaking bubbled up SKS that takes AK mags. He did end up coming over and telling me, like, that gun was worth thousands of dollars. You just give it away. So he did try there at the end. But anyway, the guy's honestly super cool dude. He was just doing his job. Anyway, that's all I have for everyone. If you enjoyed this gun, make sure you let Jonathan Isaac know down in the comments. Thank you, dude, for trusting us with this. And go follow his Instagram. I'll put it right there. He doesn't need any more followers. He's got plenty, but you can go check him out. He doesn't do any gun stuff on his channel, but he's there. And, he's always looking for stuff like this, so holla at you, boy. Anyway, Kalash Bash is right around the corner. If you guys want to come do cool AK stuff and be around super rare stuff like this, modern stuff, pretty much any AK stuff for days, come out to Kalash Bash, dude. There's going to be 1,000 of us out there, 60 vendors. We're probably going to dump 100,000 rounds over that weekend, so you really should come out there and hang out. We still have limited tickets. That link is down below. Anyway, thank you all for watching. He sent another gun, and it's just as special, so keep an eye out for that. I cannot wait to get that one on camera. All right, y'all. We'll see you next time. Another big shout out, just because we're talking about a historically significant AK. We got to get my boy Misha Co. up above 100,000 subs. Why he's not there now, I don't know, and it's an absolute crime because he is the jewel of AK GunTube. He's the unsung hero. Like, if you know, you know, Misha is the absolute GOAT, but we got to get him over 100K. So all my subscribers, if you guys like Misha, maybe you never heard of him, just search Misha Co. He's blind and has forgotten more about AKs than you or I could ever hope to know, and he puts it all out on the internet for free. He's a really great wealth of knowledge, really cool channel. We got to get Misha over 100K, and I'm going to keep saying this in the next few videos until it happens, so hopefully we'll get there. And he could probably tell you way more than I could about a Type 1, that's for damn sure.